Ba-bum-bum, ba-bum-bum. And the day's over. I really wonder if they're gonna bring up the letter at all, because in the last route, didn't mention the letter at all. But now we do. The feeling of walking through the streets is one of very deep nostalgia. While Yamaku may be the reverse of where I lived in the past, the city night is amazingly familiar. I guess this is Friday? It's the same letter. We got the same letter from the same girl. It's just a different situation that we read it in. In the last route, they just slipped the letter under our door, and we read the letter, and we're like, fuck this girl, and we threw it aside. But this time, we read the letter outside, and we talked to somebody about it. My eyes are moving constantly from the bright electronic screens, glowing high in the night sky, to the street lamps piercing the darkness with their light, to the businessmen enjoying themselves after work, and the busily talking couples on dates. Oh, that's a good one. Even if I didn't want to, I can't help soaking in every aspect of the city. I savor its familiarity, like a sweet candy sitting on my tongue. Ooh! Lily is walking to my left with her cane swaying to and fro, holding onto her sister's arm for guidance while I talk to her. Compared to traveling by taxi or bus, being driven by Akira in a rather nice car was a much more enjoyable experience. Hey, casual wear! Oh, yeah, man. You know, I won't lie, if I liked a girl and only saw her in a school uniform and all of a sudden we saw her in casual wear, oh, that would get my juices flowing. Maybe not for the person on my right, though. While Lily was used to her sister's driving style, and I quite liked a bit of excitement, Hanako was holding very tightly to the door for most of the trip. Everything looks so pretty at night. Hanako quickly looks down yet again as she accidentally catches someone's gaze. Yeah. It does. Oh, you smooth talker. You gotta look straight in her eyes. Everything looks so pretty at night. Yes. Everything is prettier at night. My answer isn't very thoughtful. Since I'm distracted by so many thoughts that I find it hard to keep up on the small talk. Damn it, you could have said that. You could have been so suave. Oh, what the fuck's wrong with her face? That's exactly why we're trying to bang her. One of those distractions aside from the city sights is how Hanako looks. This is the first time I've seen her put on something other than her school uniform or her PJs. It gives me pause when I saw her out in her outfit when we met up at the school gate. Considering how her head is lower when people walk near us, I imagine that the hat she wears is more than a fashion statement. Ah. I can think of I can think of at least one other person that also uses hats to avoid people's eyes, if you know what I mean. While initially I was wary of Lily's plan to take us out to the city when night fell, it became obvious she had thought about this. Not many people have paid Hanako much heed since the darkness hides her horribly debilitating scars. So we're in the city. Any ideas about what to do? Akira beams a smile. Something tells me that she's the one who is making this particular decision, even if her sister may have proposed the outing in the first place. You'll see. Follow us. I nod and try my best to stifle a grimace. After what happened during Hanako's birthday party, I don't trust Akira's judgment all that much. We keep walking and I notice that we're passing more and more cafes, restaurants, and other eateries. Every once in a while, a drunken man in a suit comes out of a bar, usually being supported by another, but for the most part, the customers around this part of the city look young and fashionable. Yes, that's right. Good old Danganronpa hats. Different kinds of music come and go as we pass by each business. The Discord server created by the overlaps should be grating, but it reminds me so strongly of the times I spent in the city with my old friends I don't mind. Hanako and I have started to drift a little apart from Lily and Akira. That comes to a stop when I hear a soft thud from beside me. Sorry! By the time she rights herself with her apologetic bow, the middle-aged businessman she bumped into is walking away after mumbling a half-hearted apology. Fuck it, freak, he says. Hanako looks a little put off by the experience as she quickly skips ahead to match my pace. I notice her head hanging low once more. She probably bumped into him because she was looking downwards and not at where she was going. I step to the side a little and put one hand on her far shoulder, drawing her closer. Oh, you smooth man, you. Hisao? It's okay. You can walk closer to me if you want. Damn straight. Hanako hesitates, but eventually nods in assent. After a couple of times when I thought we'd arrived at Akira's destination, we reach our target. By now, we're below the elevated walkways and past the most garish and brightly lit places. I'm a bit surprised. The average age of those around us is distinctly older, and the smell of cigarette smoke is pretty thick. The area is far from seedy though, and it's a little amusing to see Lily's reaction to the smell of the smoke. While it's masked by the low talking of those around us, jazz music can be heard emanating from inside. Looking up at the dimly lit sign, it becomes obvious why.
What's up, internet?
No. No. Come on. Nope, I'm giving up on that. It's a jazz club, I have to admit. That wasn't what I expected. Lily gives an amused snort and a smile. Somehow I feel like I should have known it, Akira. As we talk outside, I notice more and more odd sideways glances directed our way. People awkwardly catch themselves staring and look away, but that just makes it more obvious. I had noticed this occasionally when we were walking, but it's more pronounced now. I never expected anything like that in my life. An average-looking Japanese teenage guy, just a little taller than normal, isn't the type to draw attention without making an effort. Hey, come on! Just because you're a teenager doesn't mean you can't have a taste, right? Well, I don't really mind the music, if that's what you mean. I don't mind it either, says Hanako. She's only managed to force the words out. It contrasts heavily to when we're alone in Yamaku, and it disappoints me a little that she's so highly strung for what's supposed to be a good time out in the town. It's hard to read Hanako's face as she hides it behind her hands. It's little wonder if she doesn't often come out to the city because of this, and it makes me a little thankful that my own scarring is easily hidden. Lily has a similar way of attracting people's gazes, but the reason of it is clearly different. She hardly looks like a native, and the same can be said for her sister. That much is far more noticeable than her blindness from a distance. She may not be able to see this for herself, but I have little doubt she can hear the odd whispered phrase from people who think they're out of earshot. But be that as it may, she doesn't seem to show any sign of either annoyance or pleasure at the attention. Akira is still as confident as ever, though. Flashing a smile, she strides in with Lily by her side and the two of us following behind. I'd expected my eyes to need adjusting to the light inside, but it's not much brighter than outside. The music we heard is clearer now, mixed in with the sound of glasses moving on the tables and a counter. The husky chatter of the patrons. Looking to my right reveals the music source, a jazz group, playing beyond some tables. The patrons seem to be mostly men, although there are a handful of women. Nobody looks under 30 aside from us. It feels a little awkward, it feels like we stepped into the 1920s, and the atmosphere is quite agreeable. I'm not completely comfortable simply because of my age, but were I older, I'd probably feel quite at home. Hanako seems a little more relaxed now, probably due to nobody looking at her. Everybody's talking between themselves, drinking and watching the band. Akira casually takes a seat at the counter without even glancing around. She's probably been in here before. Lily retracts her cane, feeling out the bar stool on the edge of the counter before taking a seat beside her sister. The bartender takes a brief break from polishing a glass to watch her before putting it down and coming over. Evening, ladies. Just a scotch, thanks. Lily? May I have a glass of... A black-suited elbow hits her side sharply. Orange juice, please. No champagne for the ladies. Orange juice. Coming right up. The bartender starts to pour their drinks. A couple of seconds pass before Akira suddenly remembers that Hanako and I were indeed here and turns around to us. You two want anything, or are you just going to stand there? Hanako seems to be getting a bit restless. No matter where we're going to see ourselves, there's going to be people right next to her, and I don't think she looks convincingly older than 20, unlike Lily. Looking around, there's a games section to our right. A couple billiards tables can be seen in the corner. Nobody's using them either. I glanced at Hanako about to ask if she'd like to play, but she's already looking longingly in the same direction. Maybe it says something that we can get by with so few words nowadays. We'll go play pool over there. Akira leans back to see past me before shrugging and sitting back up. It seems you'll have to put up with only me for company. How unfortunate, says Lily. Have fun, you two. We turn and set off for the abandoned corner while Hanako takes the lead. The prospect of having a nice, quiet game away from everyone makes her walk noticeably faster. Her eyes stay firmly fixed on her prize. The table's full size and well lit, despite the surrounding darkness, thanks to the bright overhead lights. A huge painting of something covers the walls. There aren't many people milling about this corner of the club, and I can see Hanako becoming less tense as a result. You know how to play? I'm no expert, but hell yeah, I do! 8-ball? Sure, I prefer 9-ball, honestly. Like, not even a joke. Hanako gets a chalk and 2 cues from a set of hooks against one wall, while I fetch the balls from the table's pockets and grab the rack from a shelf underneath. She patiently waits as I set up the table. After sliding the final ball into the rack and doing some last adjustments, I end up having to fight my perfectionist urges to get the bottom row of balls exactly perpendicular with the edges. That's why you, like, do this, you filthy pleb. Come on, learn how to rack them balls. With the balls arranged and ready for play, I step back and take my cue from her outstretched arm. I carry out a quick inspection of the tip before I'm satisfied that it's in good condition. Yep. This is definitely a pull stick. So, you've played before? Once or twice, I just kind of know the rules. The air between us feels a little awkward. She's pretty nervous, understandably given that we're in public. Eventually, the silence becomes too much even for Hanako and she begins to quietly stammer. Well, who will break? I think for a moment before reaching out into my pockets and drawing a coin. I'll take heads, you're tails. There's a joke in there. After a nod of agreement from Hanako, I flick the coin up in the air, catch it, and flip it over him onto the back of my left hand. Looks like it's you that gets the break. That's adorable. Hanako nods again before taking up her position at the end of the table. She's not usually this quiet around me, but I'm not wholly sure it's because of the tidbit of information from her past that slipped out moments ago. I mean, like, a few days ago at her birthday? The cue comes back in a practice gesture before smacking dead into the center of the cue ball with a thud. The white ball skates across the smooth green expanse before smashing into the carefully arranged balls at the other end. Balls skitter across the table at high speed. The break was good, with the balls being nicely distributed around the table. My eyes are already flicking from one to another to pick out the easiest candidates to pocket. Hanako retreats from the side and I take my shot. Well done. It's only after Hanako says this I realize the ball I was shooting at was sunk. I look at her and notice a small smile on her face. It's nice how playing games seems to loosen her up a bit. Guess I'm stripes then. Did you not think about that before you shot at a ball? Did you not decide on this before you shot at the ball and just sunk one? I take a step back and let her take the next shot. She doesn't advance to the table, rather she looks down a little and rubs her arms. Do you guys know how to play 8-ball? If you just sunk a shot, it's still your turn. By now I can identify this as one of her gestures that means she wants to say something, but isn't sure of herself enough to do it. What's up? It's just, you had a nice smile. Do you like playing this? Baby girl, I'd love to play anything as long as you're here with me. Hey, Nerd Logic with the raid. 2 raids at once. Welcome everyone from Nerd Logic stream. My name's Zenigami. We're playing a lovely dating game that has to do with horribly, horribly disabled girls. And we're gonna waifu the shit out of them. I sigh and lean back against the table. I like playing. Yeah, I think I was smiling because it's really nostalgic though. It reminds me of my days back when I was on the army. You don't know the shit I used to see. Why does this like Steins Gate? Because it's anime. Anime is anime, right? Me and my friends used to play pool in game centers near where we live pretty often and at nights too. Wouldn't your parents? My parents both worked, so they didn't mind me not being in the house. I stayed on top of schoolwork pretty easily as well, so there was plenty of time to do other stuff at night. Our conversation dies down with Hanako's timidity getting the better of her. In response, I get off the table and let her take her turn. You asshole, you're just sitting on the table all over the place. Oh, you know. Just thinking about the past. Doing well, Nerd Logic. Doing well. Super cute. There aren't many solids in easy positions, so Hanako bends over and takes a while to line up her shot. Hanako's expression is the same as when we played chess, as a relaxed but focused concentration. Athletes sometimes talk about getting into the zone, where nothing unnecessary enters her mind. I wonder if that's something she can do. Her posture is good, better than mine to be sure. It's very close to a textbook method of playing, whereas I tend to contort myself into whatever position I feel is most natural for the shot I'm taking. God, there's so many jokes I could make right there. She lines up the cue. The cue comes back and she does a couple of practice movements to make sure she's lined them up correctly. Hanako takes games so seriously. It's the only real hobby I know she has outside of reading. It feels good to be able to share this kind of experience with her. She takes the shot after careful consideration. The cue ball zooms off towards a ball sitting at a slightly awkward angle near a corner. Hanako's careful preparation pays off as the cue ball hits and sends the ball rolling towards the corner pocket. For a moment, it looks like it'll stop just on the lip of the hole, but eventually tilts just enough to drop in. Man, that was a hard shot. If you can pull that off, I don't think I have much hope. I'm not that good. It's not just a shot, though. Even when lining it up, you looked really serious. You're like this with chess, too. See you later, Hypnotic. Take care, dude. The praise makes her a little flustered. She sets the cue against the table and stands, turning to me. I just like those kind of things. Her fingers are twisting and turning tightly. When I was in the orphanage, I just kept doing the things I liked before. Ah, shit. If I played games with the others, that was enough for the helpers there, so I never thought about it that way. Staffing at an orphanage would naturally want to have everyone socialize at least a little. If it's okay for me to ask, what was it like for you at the orphanage? Why do you want to know? 'Cause I like you. I touched a nerve, but the fact that she responded at all shows there's at least a chance she'll answer my question. Before, she likely would have just shrunk away from it without a word. I'll tell you, but... Could you tell me who Iwanako is? Oh, she jelly. Oh, girl, you jelly. Oh, the letter. Yeah, I like the letter so much more in this one than Emmy route. Like, the letter actually matters in this route. I wonder how long she's been waiting for the right opportunity to ask me this. I'm surprised, but don't hesitate. Sharing information is naturally a matter of give and take. She's someone I used to like. Her nervousness subsided, at least for the time I took to ask. Her curiosity is getting the better of her, and I feel a bit uncomfortable to be questioned like this of all matters. There's no way I can spill out all my feelings about Iwanako here. I don't even know myself what my feelings regarding her are, even after talking to Yuko earlier, and I want to avoid the subject around Hanako. Hanako doesn't look overly satisfied with the awkward ending to the discussion, but thinks better of continuing it. She only just managing to ask me in the first place without knowing that I wouldn't want to talk about it. I moved to finally take my shot. The lack of talking between us is filled by the clatter of other patrons and the band at the other end of the club. Spying a shot that doesn't look too difficult, I try and go for it. The cue ball taps the ball, and the trajectory is about right, but I put in too much power. It grazes the corner of the hole and moves off to the side, just skirting the pocket. I grit my teeth a little. I was pretty good at this game, and it's frustrating to have deteriorated so much. I step back and let Hanako take her turn. Glancing towards the counter where Lilia and Akira are sitting, they're talking busily between themselves and seem to be having a good time. I turn back to Hanako as she takes her shot. With the same face as before, she lines herself up and sharply pushes the cue. Just as before, she sinks the ball she was aiming for. It drops into the side pocket more cleanly than her last, though, It looks as she's getting a bit more into the groove of the game. Nicely done. She hesitates for a moment and begins to address me without turning her head. The orphanage was nice. It felt a bit like Yamaku does, and the staff was really kind. But as the years went on, I realized something. I was different. Maybe the horrible burns on my body. It feels strange to hear her speak so candidly about herself. She's audibly forcing the words out. It reminds me of when she insisted she tell me about the fire. Hanako must feel that she has to tell me of such things if I'm willing to tell her about my own past. Her grip on the cue tightens as she continues to speak. Most of the children were there up for adoption, just like I was, but unlike me, they gradually left one by one. By the time I went to Yamaku, I was among the oldest children there. For a while, I helped with some of the younger children, but eventually, I lay a hand on her shoulder. She's forcing herself by now. It's okay. She looks mildly surprised for a moment, but then nods before setting down her cue and turning towards me. Do you really think so? Yeah, I think so. Even while Lily's away, I'll be around to protect you, right? Hanako looks at me for a long time. I'm taken a bit off guard. Her expression hasn't changed from before, still looking somewhat maudlin, and silences between us aren't unusual. I think it's the fact that she's holding such prolonged eye contact that makes me feel a bit odd. It feels as if she's judging me. It's very strange, vaguely uncomfortable feeling. Hanako? I understand, thank you. She smiles and looks away, but it feels stilted. Hanako isn't very good at faking emotions, so this is no exception. I move to the table and take my turn to try and distract myself, but it doesn't seem to work. Does she think I'm not up to the task of helping her? Is she disappointed in me? See you later, killer. I'm probably overthinking this. While her silences are just an accepted fact of life by now, sometimes I do wish she'd speak more. With a thud, I send the white sphere careening down the table onto my target. Ah! Hanako sees what's happening just as I do. The ball hits hard when the striped ball I intend to sink, veering off towards the 8-ball. Sure enough, as both Hanako and I look on and bite our lips, they connect and the black ball rolls leisurely into a corner pocket. All I can do is sigh. It looks like Hanako is smiling again though, so maybe it wasn't for naught. That was an awful shot, you win! I'm getting pretty rusty at this. Hanako bends over, begins to shoot the remaining balls into closest pockets. I almost asked if we could play another game, but quickly checked of my watch confirms the night's getting pretty late. Damn, we played a really slow game after we hit like 4 balls. Lily and Akira appear to still be drinking at the counter. Seems like we'll have to drag them away. Hisao? I turn back to Hanako, who's still looking over the pool table, shooting balls. Her voice sounds different than before. I'm here for you as well. I suddenly find myself blushing. It's only natural she would respond this way, given what I said earlier, but it's still a shock to actually hear it. So cute. Just what is my relationship with this girl? I want to protect her, to make her happy. I'm not sure that's something like love, but I don't think these are the same kind of feelings I have for Lily either. I feel sorry for her, having gone through so much in her life. Her parents died in a house fire and she lived in an orphanage for so much of her childhood. I can't even imagine that kind of life. But I feel like there's so little I can do for her, especially now that Lily is going to be leaving the country. Hanako and I finish tidying up the table and cues and pick up Lily and Akira on our way out of the club. It feels like something changed between Hanako and me. I can't quite place what it is, but Hanako's acting differently now. I feel like we're further apart, if anything. So, you enjoy yourselves? Hanako and I both nod and agree. The game was good and we both did learn more about each other, so it's an honest answer. Lily appears to be a little distracted. Worried about your trip, Lily? She pauses before sighing and smiling weakly. A little. It means quite a bit. The comment earned a clap on her shoulder from her sister. Hanako smiles back too. You'll be okay, Lily. I hope you can enjoy your time over there. You know, with your dying aunt and all. Thanks, Hanako. I'll try to. It'll be nice to be back with my family after all, no matter how brief a time it may be. With that, the 4 of us begin the walk to the car park where Akira's car is. We continue to talk between ourselves, and it's mostly just small talk. I definitely like the different role that Iwanako is taking in this route. Ah, girls again! Lily motions to a large suitcase standing beside her. Entidus, reading the chat rules. That's right. I am a sexy man. I'll have to take this with me, so I've booked a taxi. He'll meet us at the school gates in 5 minutes. I see. Why don't you just get an Uber? Lily reaches down and feels out the handle of her suitcase. Its weight causes her some difficulty, so I quickly offer to take it myself. It's awfully kind of you, Hisao. She has no qualms about accepting, and I end up picking it up. It's not what I call light, but it's not exactly heavy either. Sometimes the heaviest things we lift are our feels. Ba-ba-ba-da. Well, thank you then. We should hurry though. If the taxi leaves, then it'll take quite a while to book a new one. Are you ready, Hanako? Yeah, let's go! We rush to the gates as fast as we can, only to find that a taxi has yet to arrive. Well, nothing like a bit of exercise in the morning. The nurse told me I should be doing that. Oh, don't remind me of Emmy route. I think he probably had other things in mind, Hisao. Probably with more regularity. Do you intend to be helping people with their luggage every day? I guess not. Looks like we've got a bit of a wait anyways. How long should we wait for the taxi before calling them again? I would say another 10 minutes, but they've never let me down before. It's probably just a little bit of traffic. Okay. So how long is the flight to Scotland? About 16 hours! If I remember correctly, it's a bit hard to tell with the changing time zones. So long! And Hanako's not talking about the flight. It's now that I realize Hanako's been unusually quiet, even for her. She doesn't handle stress well, so she's looking really uptight. Yeah, I can't imagine being on a plane for that long. I've only ever flown on a short family holiday up north, so it's really quite hard to fathom. If Hanako spent so much of her childhood at an orphanage, she probably traveled very little, yet alone flown. It's not too bad. I spent most of it either asleep or catching up on my English. I hardly ever use that here, so I need to refamiliarize myself with it a bit. Will your accent be a problem? I won't worry about it that much. It may be an issue initially, but I should be fine once I get used to it. We all move to sit down on a small bench beside a school gate in silence. Strangely enough, even though I know that Lily is going away, I can't think of anything to say to her. Lily is a reliable person, so it might be just because she isn't the one that I'm thinking of most. Lily might not be able to see it, but Hanako's chewing her fingernails nervously. I move to talk to her, but can't hear an engine straining up the hill before I get the chance. Ah! I think that's a taxi. Well spotted, Hisao. I only just heard it as well. A small wave of pride washes over me. To have noticed something at the same time as Lily must mean I've become more aware of my surroundings. Anyways, we won't have time to call the taxi company or worry about missing Lily's plane. We won't have to call the taxi company. Once the taxi stops where we're standing, the driver rolls down a window and leans over. After confirming that yes, Lily is the same Lily Sato that booked the trip, we sort out her luggage. The driver opens the trunk of the taxi and takes Lily's suitcase, with Lily climbing into the back seat as he loads it into the trunk and slams it shut. After getting back into his seat and shutting the doors, he waits for us to say our farewells. Have a safe trip, Lily. Take care of yourself. Hanako looks understandably downcast, and that is much more obvious in her voice. Of course I will. I'll be back before long, don't worry. There'll still be another person for you here, so... I won't there, Hisao. Of course. I turn and smile to Hanako, putting my hand on her shoulder. She only manages to keep eye contact with me for a couple of seconds, her cheeks red all the while before turning back to Lily. See you, Lily. Goodbye. Lily gives her farewells to the both of us with a fair measure of reluctance. Without further ado, the driver starts the engine once more and they begin the journey down the hill towards the airport. The two of us stand at the gates for a long time, even after they've disappeared from sight, not really knowing what to do. So, what do you want to do? I don't know. Save. Okay. I think I don't think going into the city is a good idea right now. I think if we go into the city, you'll get triggered. Let's go into the city. The bus stopped. Standing by the school gates like a mute sentinel puts a strange idea in my mind. Do you want to head into town and look for a bookshop or something? We have the rest of the day free. It's a long shot, as Hanako doesn't like going into the city. I count the fact that we managed to get her out there, even when it was so dark, as a small miracle. But I generally want to spend more time with her. Anyway, she's likely to just refuse and go back to... Okay. Really? Really, let's go. I can't work out why Hanako has decided to agree with me, but I'm not about to ask her to change her mind. I think we're definitely going to get her triggered somehow. Stepping off the bus, I immediately noticed that a lot of people are around us. In hindsight, it should have been more obvious. Of course, lots of people would be downtown on a Saturday afternoon. Hanako retreats close to my side. I can feel her hand clutching my arm tightly. Her body is held against mine and her head is bowed so low that her hat hides most of her scarring. So, where should we go? Bookshop? Hanako's present and my other general living expenses have pretty much drained my budget. But I should be able to afford a few books. There's something I tried to reserve a few funds for anyways. For a second I think Hanako didn't hear me, but I looked to my side and noticed her nodding almost imperceptibly. Okay. Do you know one? Actually, I do. We passed a few when Lily and I were looking for your presents. Look, Fraligatus, we'll find out if we did the right answer or not whenever we get to the end. Hanako's expression clouds a fraction. I've got to remember to stop bringing up her birthday. Spent a lot of time. Oh, maybe I misjudged the situation. We want to make sure we got the right present after all. Hanako smiles and blushes a bit. It's a small treasure when she does. Anyways, there should be a bookshop just up ahead. You want to check it out? Sure. The crowd starts to build as we head towards the bookshop along the raised walkways. Hanako latches her other arm onto me as well, making our progress a little slower. As we walk, the sound of the traffic makes me think of a possible distraction for her. I was wondering, Hanako, have you thought yet about when you're going to learn to drive? Driving? That's how people die. Yeah, you're kind of lucky in a way. There aren't a whole lot of students in Yamaku that are allowed to drive. What is that? What? What? I don't follow this logic. It's not the best topic of conversation, but I want to try and distract Hanako. Then again, all I've really done is make her feel awkward since she's probably never thought about it. Before long, we were before one of the bookshops Lily and I passed during our search. What kind of self-respecting bookshop closes on Saturdays? Bookshops don't make much money anymore because of the internet. Damn internet! Rawr! Maybe they just had to close over the weekends. She seems pretty knowledgeable about technology. I guess it's a pursuit that would lend itself well to someone who enjoys solitude. I guess that makes sense. It's easier to find books online. Damn you, Amazon! Anyways, it looks like this idea is shot. Anything else you want to do? If it's not a bother, can you show me where you bought my present? Sure, it's not far from here. I head off in a direction to the store, only half sure of its exact location. I don't want a repeat of the last time, spending half the day walking around aimlessly. Here we are, Othello's Antiques. It's small. Oh, Hanako, why do you have to say that? You know, the ones you see on TVs, those aren't like the normal sizes, I swear. Well, yes, it took Lily and me some time to find it. Here we go. It just sounds... Oh, man. I'm just so fucking dirty. I don't see why not. It's open. I was still giggling. Hanako pushes towards the door and enters before me. Once again, the store is empty save for the store owner. His face drops a little when he sees me. Oh, you're not here for a return, are you? Wait, that's not the girl you had with you last time. You player, you! No, we're not here for a return. We're just in town and wanted to have another look in here. The store owner considers this for quite a long time. I guess he's not used to high school students coming to his shop on a regular basis. Might this be the friend you bought the gifts for? That's right, this is the girl. The store owner turns to Hanako, who freezes on the spot. Ugh. He moves to address her, but stops before doing so, looking a little taken aback. He catches himself staring and looks to his side, addressing us indirectly. His expression is awkward and tense, as is his entire body. I want to be mad at him, but I know full well I had the same instinctive reaction when I first saw her. Full of surprise and curiosity, then an awkward look away as I dealt with what I'd seen. Hanako looks less panicked than before, but I think the feeling she's giving off now is worse. It's not anger or annoyance, if anything, it's one of apology. You're lucky there, young lady, to have friends that care so much about you. Thank you. If I hadn't spent so much time with Hanako, I wouldn't have even realized that she said anything. Then again, the store owner's mumble was hardly clear either, thanks in part to being directly away from us. Hanako strikes out into the store, gazing in wonder at the various items on display. She finds the doll section and spends lingering minutes studying each and every one. It's a side of Hanako I'd only barely been introduced to. I was astonished when Lily said she liked dolls, even more so to find her collection sitting on her dresser. She looks a little better now that she's distracted out of the store owner's sight, but I'm still quite put off by the whole experience. I might have my own problems, but I heard that strangers react to me like that as well if I was something completely alien. But I'd never had strangers react to me like that, as if I were something completely alien to them. This is a nice shop. Yeah, it's not what I expected. You want to buy something? I didn't bring any money. Well, we can always come again. Now that I know where to find it, that is. We can? Of course, we can come here as often as you'd like. Thank you. You don't need to thank me, I almost forgot where this place was. I don't think either of us completely believes in what we're saying, but rather, we're just repeating what we think we should say. Can we go back to school now? Sure thing, let's go. As we leave the bus stop, I see the store owner peek through the curtain at the back of the shop. Not really sure what the glance he gives us... I'm not really sure what the glance he gives to her says. It feels a bit weird, and the fact that Hanako didn't see it is both a relief and a bit frustrating. Hanako and I stopped walking once we reached a concrete area between the dormitory buildings. There was barely a word said between us on the way back from the city. Well then, goodbye. Do you want to have some tea or something? How about a game? Hanako shakes her head embarrassedly. I'm tired. Maybe later? I've got homework. She sounds a little depressed. Hanako honestly does want to do more, but I suppose she would have a bit of schoolwork to catch up on. She's missed a few days of lessons. Homework. See you, Hisao. Before I can say goodbye, Hanako has turned and begun walking towards the entrance of the female dormitory building. I look at the door she disappears through for a bit before going off towards my own dorms. Today was a tiring day. Next chapter. Dun, dun. Yeah, we're gonna get topless. I woke up, took my pills, had a nice shower, quickly slipped into my uniform, ate a tasty breakfast, grabbed my bag, and headed off, all per my usual daily routine. It was only after arriving in class that the normality of the day has thrown off. After taking my seat, I watched my classmates trickle into the room over the next hour until every empty seat was taken, other than Hanako's. We fucked up bringing her to the town. Hey, she's an A. I could never get used to the idea that she just doesn't show up to class every now and again. It feels all the more worrying now, given that Lily's left. As Muto comes to drone on, I find my gaze flicking every so often over to her seat, as if she might appear there any moment now. Nobody else seems to care at all about her absence, but they have very little reason to. Hanako being absent from class, after all, is perfectly normal, or at least it was. Her attendance hasn't been all that bad from what I'd seen in my time here, but it was apparently much more spotty beforehand. This is also an ominous time for her to be gone. It's the day before her birthday. Oh, right. I'm like, my time frame's all weird. I'm like, but we had her birthday. That's just her birthday party. After the breakdown she had in class when it was mentioned. An increasing amount of my thoughts is taken up by how I can help her, but in the end, I feel like I can't do anything. The bell heralding the beginning of lunchtime rings out, shaking me out of my thoughts. A collective sigh of relief can be heard from the class, though Mutua looks quite put off. He dislikes being interrupted in the middle of his exciting lectures, after all. Just when I was wondering what I should do on lunch break, given that Hanako and Lily aren't here, the solution presents itself. Afternoon, Hichan. Afternoon, Misha, Shizune. You both look as bright as ever. Shichan wants to know if you had to have lunch with us today. Sure. Be good to have some company. The cafeteria hums with activity, much like my old schools did. Yamaku is different, though, in how strangely civilized the lunchtime rush is. What one would expect to be an unruly mob chomping at the bit to get to the serving area is rather a neat and organized line. There's a small amount of jostling, and people's heads are often craning around to check on what's happening up ahead, but it's pretty subdued. This is due, no doubt, to the very serious rules against such matters in this school. The same strict discipline is observed when students move in the hallways or come to and from their dormitories in school gate. While the reasons for it may be slightly off-putting, I've come to quite like the sense of order that's enforced in this school. I didn't really like being told by Shizune and Misha to get their lunches, though. I feel a little bit used as I take my seat at the table where they're sitting, plucking their food down in front of them. Sweet bread and strawberry milk for Misha, and juice for Shizune. I heave a sigh of relief as I put it all down after the significant difficulty I had carrying it over in addition to my own lunch. Thank you! Misha claps her hands together before popping open the wrapper and digging into her bread ravenously. Shizune simply gives an appreciative nod before giving her steaming ramen a stir and blowing on it a little to cool it down. I open my own lunch, another packet of sweet bread, and take a bite before washing it down with some juice. The bread is very sweet, so much I end up forcing myself to stomach it just to get the experience over with. Midway through, I decide to take a break from the difficult task and ask what's on my mind. So I'm guessing you two had another reason to drag me down here. You two seem to always have an ulterior motive. We keep saying that, but we have like they keep wanting to hang out with me, and we keep blowing them off. So really, it's our fault that we keep blowing them off. What are you saying, Hichan? You don't have one of your motive? Her mouth is full of sweet bread as she speaks. It's a pretty unpleasant sight. Shizune looks a little grossed out before going back to eating her ramen. I wait until Misha swallows what she has in her mouth before speaking again. You're not buttering me up to make me work for you again after school. Nope. Not trying to extract information that I might not want to give? Nuh-uh. You win. I guess you would just want to eat lunch with someone as intelligent and as handsome as myself. Shizune looks unimpressed as Misha finishes signing our conversation and sucks in the last of a long noodle before she signs her own thoughts. Shichen says you shouldn't be so suspicious of us. She's just doing her duty as a class representative after all. How are you doing that? As much as I hate to admit it, it looks as if I still have trouble communicating with Shizune. It should be a simple matter of keeping eye contact with her and addressing Shizune instead of Misha in my speech. But when someone else is doing the talking for her, it's a surprisingly difficult task. It's the class representative's job to ensure everybody's doing all right in class, isn't it? Not really. Wait, how is making me get your food assuring I do well in class? Shizune huffs and adjusts her glasses disapprovingly. So this is the thanks we get for giving you companionship during lunchtime? That's a total dodge of a question. Wait. How'd you know that I... Well, Lily and Hanako aren't here, yeah. And since those two are the only people we hang out with, we also make it kind of obvious to see. Ouch. I may as well have done so, but she didn't need to rub it in. Maybe this is payback for before. Right. Thanks, I appreciate it. That isn't sarcasm. The two nod, and we get back to finishing our meals. It feels a little embarrassing to be accompanied just because they noticed I was lonely, but it isn't as if they were strangers either. It isn't long before I finish the last of my bread and start on the last of my juice, and as I do so, I find my mind wandering back to what I've been thinking about before the two interrupted my train of thought. It feels like I'm the only one in class that so much as acknowledges Hanako not being there. It felt like this the other time she skipped class, but now it's even more acutely annoying. Does nobody care if she's happy or not? Maybe they just written her off as a possibility of helping to make her better. Even Muto doesn't try to keep her in class, and I'm still not wholly convinced by his reasoning. Hey Hichan, is your juice past its expiry date? What? You're making a sour face. You're putting a weird face like this. As if it were needed, Misha mimics my own expression. Her exaggeration makes me grimace, though Shizune at least takes some amusement from it. I was just thinking about Hanako. Oh? Ooh! Misha's interest is piqued, and so is Shizune's once my words are interpreted for her. I'm just worried about her being absent so often, especially now, though, what with her birthday coming around. The mention of that incident in class are still fresh on their minds. Their faces alone are telling me that much. Do you know anything about Hanako? Anything that might help? Misha shrugs and looks at Shizune, who mulls on it for a while. The only people she's ever talked to for more than a sentence or two are you and Lily. Shizune may not be able to convey Lily's name in a derisive tone of speech, but I feel as if it comes through in her sign language. The effect is lost over after Misha's interpretation. There are a couple of things we know about Hanako as student council members, thanks to the records that pass through our hands, but we can't say anything about what's in them. Understandable. It sounds a lot like the nurse's patient confidentiality. Every time I find someone that knows something about Hanako's past, it turns up being a dead end. The only way I'll ever find out is by asking her. I don't know if she'll let me know such things, but if it's for her sake, I have to at least try. Don't worry about it, Hichan. It happens every year after all. That doesn't remove my sense of worry at all. I feel a little at fault for what happened in class, but this feels like it goes further, even without their confirmation of the fact. Misha notes my troubled expression, her own usually happy and reassuring face dropping. Everyone has problems they have to deal with, right, Hichan? Yeah, I just wish I could help Hanako with hers. With that, the conversation trails off on a depressing note. Eventually, Misha manages to pick up the mood back up through her usual bright and bubbly antics, but my mind remains focused on Hanako. I'll go check on her later. I made sure my door is locked after dropping off my school bag. The dorms are quiet. Muto kept me occupied longer than I expected, discussing my studies after classes ended, pressing on me some worksheets to give to Hanako almost as an afterthought. Absorbed in thought, I am in registering the shadow that appeared in front of me, looking up to reveal it's Kenji. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. Unfortunately, yeah. Oh, hi. What's with that response? My absent-minded greeting visibly annoys him. Sorry, just thinking about stuff. Thinking is a pretty poor excuse to not aiding in the war effort. How goes the war? Making prep. I have no money. No, I'm good. You're good? You don't want my money? Hey, don't look surprised. It's insulting. I'm pretty big in the competitive bowling scene, but yesterday I found some guys who didn't know that. I'm fairly sure betting would be against school rules. School rules don't matter. This is a war situation. So, what do you need this money for? Non-perishable canned foods, building materials, mostly corrugated iron and wood panels, first aid kit, camping heater, portable radio, sleeping bag, flashlight, and mechanical clock. At first, it strikes me as a rather random assortment of objects and materials, but after a second it clicks. Fallout shelter? Ah, so you've read a Protect and Survive booklet. It's good to see someone so knowledgeable about how to protect themselves. It's a non-zero possibility. Pretty sure it's a zero possibility of that ever happening. Where's he gonna keep all this stuff? Is he going to build a fallout shelter on the dorms? Or is he gonna keep all this in his room until he needs to build a fallout shelter? I'm not sure what the plan is here. He slowly and dramatically raises an eyebrow. Well, as dramatically as one can raise an eyebrow. The chance is, I don't know, 0.1 blah 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 blah. It's my summer holiday project when I'm at home. Really? Yeah, he thought I'll improve my crafting skills and manual dexterity. Knowing Kenji, his dad probably just thought it might keep him out of his hair for a while. Still, it does make me wonder what his parents are like. Maybe they're totally normal and Kenji's just an aberration. On the other hand, maybe this kind of paranoia and fearful survivalism runs in the family. Hey, want to help me build it? No. Playing soccer before my accident gave me a good footwork, but I've never really tried my hand at anything approaching real handiwork. His sound, that's not how skills transfer over. Handiwork and footwork don't. I'm busy. A shame if the feminists ever get a hold of the launch codes. I fear the lunch codes. Oh no! The feminists! They're sending us lunch! A fallout shelter isn't meant to protect against the blast. That's what a blast shelter is for. Dummy. My home's pretty far away from any major military sites, so the fallout following a nuclear exchange is a better concern than a blast itself. 14 days of hiding in the shelter. I need 1 liter of water a day for drinking. Blah, 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 blah. Radios for communication. Right on. I'm a little impressed. Sounds like you know what you're doing. Damn straight. It must be hard living in fear like this. This mentality reminds me a little of a certain someone. Her fears don't manifest in such a distinctly eccentric way. It's late. I've got stuff to do. See ya. You should hang out with me sometime. No, we shouldn't. For some reason, that compliment actually feels kind of nice. What's up, Sir Oblivion? How you doing? Later, dude. He retreats to his own dormitory room. I better go see Hanako. I stand outside the door to Hanako's room, hoping that she isn't in too much of a state as I nervously clutch the worksheets Muto asked me to pass on to her. It's one more reason to visit her, and it gives me something to talk about, so I suppose I should be thankful to him for giving me the task. With a long breath to steady myself, I rap my knuckles on the door in front of me. Silence. I listen intently for any sound of shuffling coming inside, but I can't hear a thing. I knock on the door slightly harder. Still no answer. How strange. Scratching my head, I make one last attempt at getting her to answer as I knock on the door one final time. Hanako, it's me. Muto said to give you some stuff. For a while, the attempt seems just as unsuccessful as the last. Just before I slip the sheets under the door, I hear the handle rattling. As the door opens halfway, I quickly try to see how Hanako's faring. Is a task made somewhat more difficult by her oversized gown hiding so much of her body. She doesn't look sick, or at least not immediately so. To be honest, I'd have preferred that to her expression right now. She looks incredibly tired and appears to be barely acknowledging my presence. Hi, Hanako. Muto wanted me to give you these. I hold out the loose sheets, which she tentatively takes in her hands. The way she moves is devoid of thought. Her posture is slumped in an unusual manner for someone that is so often tense and wound up. Even her eyes keep looking away from mine, doing their best to avoid eye contact. I move my head a little to try and get a better look, but she just ends up turning away. You okay? You feeling sick or something? I can get the nurse. It feels almost pitiful to put on such a routine get-well-soon act. I can't think of anything else I could possibly do for her, though. She seems to collect herself a little at the notion, but only a little. Her head turns away, but her eyes move towards me. I'm fine. An awkward silence follows. As it lingers, I notice that the sleeves and the cuffs of her gown bear slightly damp stains. Her cheeks are a bit red, too. Has she been crying? I see. I hesitate a little before coming out with the words I really came here to say. Would you like me to stay? Don't have anything urgent to do at the moment, so it wouldn't be any trouble. Her eyes slide away from me. That's a very passive way of asking to stay. I guess that gives her an out, but I think I would have preferred to ask can I come in? I lose any hope for an improvement in her mood. I wait for a response, but she doesn't say anything nor give any kind of gesture. She just stands there looking away from me. Hanako? She slowly shakes her head. Good night then. With that, Hanako steps back and closes her door without a second word. More than a little worried, I retreat back to my room. Wandering up the hallway, I keep mulling over what happened. It felt like Hanako was only half there, as if I was interacting with a robot that was just doing what it was programmed to without any real thought. She was a husk of a person. This is frustrating. I had hoped that meeting Hanako would help the situation, but I feel like it only made it harder to understand her. How am I supposed to try and help her when she's quite literally shuts me out like that? I don't bother to turn on the light, opting instead to simply change into my PJs, quickly choke down my evening pills, and collapse onto my bed. I mean, why even wear PJs? Just sleep in the nude.